So right here, I'm gonna get to the coding, and you see right here inside of the body. So let me zoom in. So you see inside of the body tag, I'm gonna add a button. So let me add a small button. All right, and I'm gonna let's say I'm gonna keep it an empty button. I'm gonna say click to say hi, or click to change the age one. Okay, so you see if we take a look at that button, it's that small button there basically, and I'm gonna give it an ID. All right, so right here after the word button, I'm gonna put a space here, and I'm gonna give it an ID, and I can name it anything I want. So I'll call it my button. So my button. Okay, so now we have that. Now let's add an age one below it. So I'm gonna add an age one. So I'm gonna say age one. Okay, and I'm gonna type something here. So I'm gonna say some text. Okay, and if we take a look at it, you'll notice that it's just here. Let me collapse this terminal for now. Okay, just to give myself more space. And you see right here, I'm gonna give it an ID also. So it's always a good idea to give it IDs, you know, just to be more specific. So I'm gonna give it my age one. Okay, so I have my age one there. Then below it, I'm gonna use script. So script. Okay, and I'm gonna, let's see. So the first thing that I want to do is I want to create a variable. So I want to, you know, declare a variable and then store my button inside of that variable. So to do that, I'm gonna say document, and you always start with document, then dot, then you can go with get element by ID. So get element by ID. All right. Then you open two parentheses and two quotations. So when you do this, you have to add the name of the button. So I'm gonna go to my button, and I'm gonna add it between the quotes here. But you see, I mean, I'm using the DOM, and I'm trying to store the element inside of a variable, but I have not declared the variable. So at the very beginning, I have to say let my button, so my button equals to, all right, so let my button equals to document the get element by ID and my button. So basically, this will store my button inside of this variable. All right, now let's do the same thing for the age one. So I'm gonna say let my age one equals to document dot get element by ID my age one. So basically, I have both of them. Okay, below it, I'm gonna create a function. So let's create a function. So I'm gonna say function, and then you can name it anything you want. So I'm gonna say change event, or change age one. So it's going to change the age one. Change age one. All right. So you see, we have our function here, and inside of that function, so what I want to do is I want to change the content of the age one. So you see where it says some text. When I click on this button, I want to change this place where it says some text. So to do that, all you have to do is you have to use my age one. So I'm gonna say my age one, same variable name, because we have, you know, stored the age one inside of this variable. Dot inner HTML equals to, and I can say some other text, change by button. Oops. So changed by function, or JavaScript, changed by JavaScript. Okay, cool. So now let's zoom out. And if I call this function, so, you know, if I want to call this function, you'll have to say change, and yeah, so the name of the function, which is change age one. So change age one, and then you add two parentheses to call it. And now you see the text has been changed already. So it says some other text changed by JavaScript. So we have changed that text, the one that we put here by default, where it says some text. So it was some text, and now, whenever I reload it, JavaScript basically changed it for me. But now I don't want to call my function, and I don't want to run it, but I want to, keep it and wait for somebody to call it. And to call it, in the old days, people would add, on click here. So you can do this now too, but I don't know. This is an obsolete way, but I'm going to show it to you anyways. So instead of calling the function here, they would add, the attribute here, right in the bottom. They put a space and they say on click. So on click, right? And they put the change age1, or the name of the function, just like that. So what did I do? Okay, it's an extra. Yeah, so change age1, just like that. And now you see, if I just click on this button, you see it says some text changed by JavaScript. So this is default, and if I click on the button, it will change it. But this is the old way, alright? So this is not a good practice, because this is HTML, and you see we are using the onClick attribute, so I don't want that. So I'm gonna get rid of that for now. Alright, and instead we will use JavaScript to attach, this function to that specific button. So what I'm gonna do is right here, you see, if I take a look at the button, you see I have stored the button inside of this variable, and I named it my button. So I'm gonna say my button. All right, so my button, and then I'm gonna say dot add. So let me zoom out a little bit. Okay, add event listener, like that. Then you open two parentheses. Okay, so what event do we want? Well, if you put the quotations here, you'll see a list of events that you can use. So you see on abort, on blur, on can play, but I'm gonna go with click. All right, so I'm gonna type that there, and then you add a comma, so comma, and then right here you can either add the function here, or I can basically add the name of the function, which is change age1. So change age1. All right, and the false, so the true false, don't worry about that. I'm gonna get rid of that part. Let's not worry about that now. So you see I said my button, and we add the event listener to it, to the button. All right, so we said when we click on it, we run this function, which is change age1, but you make sure that you don't use the parentheses. So if you use the parentheses here, what's going to happen is, you are going to call it by default. So make sure you don't add those parentheses. So just add the name of the function. All right, just like I did here. So now if I save it, you see it says some text, but if I one click on it, you see it says some other text changed by JavaScript. So we have basically used the AddEventListener to run a piece of code, in this case this function. So we have run the function, all right, just based on the click. And also we can attach the event to any other element. So you see right here I have a button that says click here to change the text. You can change this to anything. So this could be, I don't know, maybe you can change it to, I don't know, whatever you want. So you can, let me change it to an age1 here, or age2. All right, and let me just add some style here. So style color green, just to see a difference. So color Alice, let's see, so color colon Alice blue. So let's take a look at it. You see if I say change text, so this will work as long as as long as you add the same ID here. So you see this was a button, this used to be a button, but now it's an h2. So I'm going to say ID equals to two quotations, and we are going to give it the same ID of my button. So I'm going to say my button. So I know it's not a button, but we are just, using the same code. And now if I refresh it, if I click on change text, you see it changed it to a different text. So now you see if I click on it, it says some text, but if I click on it, is this one, sorry. So if I click on this one, you see it says some other text changed by JavaScript. So this is basically it. So you can add, you can, attach this event to any button. It could be a button, it could be an H1, an image, or whatever. But I hope that I have given you a basic idea about how to use events and stuff like that. So you see, we have learned how to create variables and how to store, your elements inside of variables. And then we have learned how to create a function. Also, you see, inside of the function, we are changing the inner HTML of the H1. And right here outside, we are attaching an event listener to the button, or in this case, it's H2, so I changed it to H2. So I hope that, I have not made this too complicated for you all, but don't forget to like and subscribe, and I hope to see you all in the next videos. So just before I go, you see right here, I said my button add event listener, and I have added the click and the change H1 element. You see, this is the function. But if you add the 2 parentheses here, what's going to happen is going to run even if you don't click on it. So let me just test it. So you see, if I add the 2 parentheses, my text will be changed here. So it will not wait for me to click on it. But you see, if I don't use the parentheses, it will wait for my call. And now you see it says some text, and if I click on change text, it will change it. All right, so now we have learned this basic thing. So now you see, I hope you understand how, like, when you use 2 parentheses or not. So when you use 2 parentheses, you just call it, all right away. So, but if you just add the name of the function here, you just wait for an event to happen. And in this case, my event is the click. So if I click on it, it will change it then. All right, so I'll see you all later. Thanks for watching, everyone.